All right, that made it through, almost. What's going on, people? We are coming to you guys live from the Toronto International Film Festival, where, well, at least I am, at least from my
One
Airbnb.
of us is.
One of us is, exactly. For Talkin' Lost, Season 3, Episode 6. You guys probably thought that we were going to miss a week, but no, I couldn't do that to you guys. I mean, it's pretty much been our thing for the entirety of the year of 2025. But you guys are going to get as far as what I've been up to at the festival, not just my shorts that I've been doing as well for the last couple of days. I just got out of screenings number 6 and 7 today. I'm getting the number right there. And yeah, I've seen a lot of movies in the last couple of days. Unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to see a couple of the ones that I really wanted to see, but such a case at a film festival, especially one of the biggest film festivals in the world.
I'm doing good. We're really getting into some good episodes here. Like I didn't think the surgery would be this episode, but it is. So it Lost is delivering faster than I expected, which is very good. Very good episode, especially the second half.
It ends on a little bit of a cliffhanger, as these last couple of episodes have, but it's in a good way. Ultimately, you know, we're finally starting to, as you were saying, get past the setup and start to get a little bit into kind of what this season is all about, what we're trying to do. You know, because at the beginning of the season, it was like, oh, Jack, Kate, and Sawyer are being held in these cages by the others. The others are having Jack for something, because they're keeping him separate from them, but we don't know what. Ben is watching all of them on a security camera. Ben makes Jack an offer that, you know, he can go home, he can get him off the island. We saw that they have now officially like gotten to Sawyer by telling him, you know, first with the pacemaker, now that Sawyer knows that they're on a completely different island in this episode. And so we had our focus on Jack with the others. We had our focus on Sawyer. And now this episode, we have our focus on Kate. We haven't had a Kate flashback episode in a minute. I think the last one was the episode last season where we finally got the reveal, the reason for why the because I don't think that Kate has another flashback episode this season. So if I'm not mistaken, I think this is kind of a cap to her flashback. And it's kind of in line with a lot of the other flashbacks that we've been seeing this season, which is where, because primarily we've spent so much of our time with our group of protagonists, right? We automatically assume that, like, oh, they're for the most part good people. And this season, like I said, since this is the war season, the us versus them, the them versus the others, you know, it started to kind of try and put a little bit of twist, a little bit of a perspective change on what we think of these characters. Again, we saw in the first 2 episodes, you know, Jack and Son, they may not have exactly been the best people. They may not have exactly been the most stable. You know, Sawyer's flashback from a couple episodes ago, we saw how, you know, he was used to getting his way around in jail, but also a little bit of a shift. We saw in Locke's flashback episode kind of the beginning of everything that led him to where he is now on the island. And now with Kate, we have its fun little cameo from her husband, who apparently she's married to in the flashback, played by Guy Gardner himself, Nathan Fillion, who I believe had like just gotten done with Firefly around this time. This is about mid-2000s, so I don't remember what he was working on at the time. But they have a nice
when did Castle start?
Castle was, I think, a little bit after this. I want to say that was like, oh wait, a little bit after this, because we're still in 2006. I believe this is the last episode that aired in 2006, or maybe it's next episode. I don't remember which one, before we jump ahead into 07 for the second half of the season. And I guess what this episode is kind of telling us is that Kate, in a way similar to Desmond, is doomed to forever constantly be on the run. She's doomed to life of, you know, of being in fear, of being on the run, you know, because in this episode, we finally see her, like, she has a chance to settle down. She has a chance for peace. You know, she's in this happily, you know, she's in this, you know, sort of domestic bliss with this guy who has no idea who she really is. She's living under a fake name. And you're wondering, like, oh, what's going on? Has she, like, gotten away from the marshal? Like, at this point, like, whether to, like, her blowing up her dad. And then she ends up calling the marshal, and it's revealed that, like, oh, no. So she is, like, for the most part, escaped from his purview. But she almost, like, she can't resist kind of the allure, the rush, if you will, of being on the run.
Yeah, I think we're working with a bit of a delay here, more than usual. So we'll trust in the Toronto Wi-Fi. But yeah, I will say it was kind of another Kate flashback where it's like, okay, we're not. It's not really that exciting anymore once we found out what she did. But still, it had me wondering. Okay, is this before? Like the aesthetic looks kind of 90s, but then of course we get the reveal that no, it is definitely after. Um, but yeah, it's like you said, she almost likes being on the run. She can't settle down. She gets pregnant at the end. There's a lot of pregnant women in this show. That
Well,
also,
does she? I thought that there was that was a negative pregnancy test.
like, I don't know. There was a lot. There were two lines. One was horizontal, vertical. I'm not sure. But
It was, if I remember correctly, it said it's like 2 lines pregnant, 1 line not pregnant.
having not done a pregnancy test, I'm not an expert. But anyway, but yeah, it's a different side of Kate. So, and clearly it doesn't work for her. So she had to go to the island.
Yeah, she had to go to the island. Yeah, it's and that's ultimately kind of the. It's funny because that was the other thing that I forgot too, as far as what the plot line that was kind of introduced in season 3 primarily, and like when they were going to introduce it. I forgot this is the kind of the whole this idea of pregnant women on the island. Because obviously this is not the first instance we have of this, right? Obviously, so it goes all the way back to Russo. Russo gives birth to Alex, who we also see again in this episode on the island. Then we find out that Sun is pregnant after being unable to get pregnant in the real world because of Jin's sterility, which she attributed to herself in order to cover that up. And now we have Kate, who did not get pregnant in the real world. And so that's what leads her to ultimately leave this guy, reveal who she really is, the Nathan Fillion character, I mean, and then end up going back on the run, which leads her to Australia and, to be recaptured by the Marshal and to leave where we are here. But it is interesting because that also ties in a little bit with what Juliet's doing, because Juliet's first interaction with Kate, and while been the most warm, her interactions with Sawyer have definitely been lukewarm. She's definitely, I feel like, got a little bit of like a thing against Kate, where when they're at the work camp, right, they're about to give Sawyer the day off, quote unquote, but Kate's like, oh no, he's coming with me. We're a team, we're a package duo. And then basically when they're at the camp, Juliet's like, oh, Kate's coming with us, and she's like, why am I going to do that? She's like, because if you don't, we're going to kill Sawyer. Like the others' impetus as far as like how they're controlling them and getting them to do what they want to do. Because now this is basically the last episode where it's like, oh, what the others want with these 3 specifically is finally revealed, where it's Kate and Sawyer are there to kind of make Jack do what it is they want him to do, which was revealed in the last episode, which was where, they need him to do surgery in order to remove this tumor from Ben's spine. And again, they were trying to psychologically break him down, manipulate Jack into wanting to help them, but Juliet fucked up, or did she? May have been done that intentionally by so once that happens, you also have to see with Jack, Juliet, and Ben, like just based on those x-rays, you needed to get that tumor removed a week ago, and you've only got about a week to live. Now, whether Jack is actually telling the truth or not, who knows? Because as we see at the end of the episode, it's like Jack is like, listen, I've only got one priority here, and Ben's health is not even close to that. So what the others' prompt plans kind of falling apart around the seams in this episode?
Yeah, again, it's that humanizing of the others. Like, yes, they can plan all this, but they can't always plan for it going to shit, as it often does in these things. So, for once, I enjoyed that Jack holds the power in this case, because he's been trapped in this box for 5 episodes now, and now they need him to do something, and then there's this back and forth, like, okay, you scratch my back, I'll scratch yours, you do the surgery, you free us, sort of thing. And that culminates in, well, first of all, it's probably Alex, right, that helps him get out of the box temporarily, and then he goes and sees his 2 cellmates caught in the net, if you will, which was I don't even know what Jack makes of that.
Yeah, so it's interesting. So actually, that was definitely not Alex that helped him out of the box, because Ben, there was no accident about that. That was intentional on the other's part. Now, whether it was Ben or Juliet that actually let him out, who knows? Because Alex, obviously, so when Sawyer and Kate are back at the work camp, obviously Alex comes in, and I love how too she's like, oh, she's gonna use a slingshot with stones. It's like, you would presume that she has access to where the others have their guns, right? I mean, you would assume. So she comes in with stones and a slingshot.
Maybe that's another thing from It, because they use a slingshot in that.
That's it. That's exactly it. So she comes in with shot in the sun. Look, I was sitting there and I'm like, accomplished against like an entire armed squad of others goons here. Like, what is she think she's gonna do here? And she's obviously trying to find out where her boyfriend Carl went. No such luck there. She gets grabbed from behind and taken away. And she's like, don't trust them, don't listen to them. So you have that, and then you have Sawyer and Kate when they go back to the cave, and Kate's basically like, she's still trying to get out. First, Kate is brought and is basically told by Juliet, basically, you got to tell Jack that Sawyer's going to die or else he's going to do it. But Jack is still not convinced. Then when she's back in the cage, she manages to climb out through the top, manages to get into Sawyer's cage. Basically is saying that, like, look, we got to run. We got to go now. And Sawyer's like, we can't. We're not on the island. She's like, what? It's like, unless you're a mermaid or unless you've got a boat, we're trapped here, basically. So then that leads them to basically finally elope. But again, it's like, was that all planned? Who knows? Because like I said, Jack gets out, is let out in this case, and sees the security camera footage and is like, oh, and that's what finally comes to bed. So that was the others kind of like last ace that they had, of course, leads to the surgery scene and everything that happens there. But so that's the thing too. So do you think that Kate basically getting out and sleeping with Sawyer, so you think that was intentional on the other's part, or no? They just assumed that, like, okay, it was going to happen sooner rather than later, and then when it happened, it's like, we're going to let Jack out. He's going to see the camera, and then that's finally what's going to convince him to help us, or so they think.
Yeah, I think there was definitely some intention from the others, because obviously they can see that Kate keeps climbing out through the top of the cage, so they figured, okay, eventually she's gonna like break open that cage, and they're gonna get it on. And then I even loved how Ben said, if I were a betting man, I would have gone for you two. Just like a bit of an audience insert of like, but no, again, Ben is just like one of the best characters of the show. But then that leads into the surgery scene, which is straight of like Matthew Fox looks great in the surgeon's house. It was like full on great Grey's Anatomy, and it was. Again, I thought that was going to be the end of the episode when he says, yes, I'll do the surgery, because like these episodes, they feel longer than they are sometimes. That's just how good these first few episodes are. And then the surgery does happen. You're like, oh my God, it's going to happen. Obviously it ends in a cliffhanger, but that bit that we do get is full on. Like, Jack has the power. He's the only one in there who is capable of doing the surgery. And then he, of course, sabotages it and holds Ben hostage, essentially, while he's in anesthesia. It was really interesting dynamic there.
Yeah, it's really good. It's really, really good. Jack basically uses his skills as a surgeon while also going last episode when she was like showing him the movie with the signs and everything, as far as like, oh, this is what you actually have to do. It's like, Ben's a liar, he can't be trusted and all that. And it's this really interesting balancing act that Juliet has to play as well, where she, like, on the one hand has to pretend to be devoutly loyal to Ben, but then on the other hand, she's kind of undergoing this double-handed agenda in order to undermine him and potentially kill him. And who is another one who has figured out that, like, oh, Ben is not is clearly does not have the island's best interests at heart over his own. You saw that in last season when Alex helped Claire escape, but essentially, what ends up happening is, like you said, Jack ends up basically holding Ben hostage, where once he goes under the anesthesia, he cuts open his kidney, and it's basically like, Ben is bleeding and he's gonna die unless you let Kate and Sawyer go. And man, where Pickett, whatever his name is, Danny, I will just call him by his first name, is about to go and kill Sawyer, and he's got him on the ground. He's got the gun pointed to his head.
It's always in the rain. Whenever someone's about to die, it's like pouring rain. Like yes. When Shannon died, it's pouring rain. Sawyer's about to die.
The island knows.
Make this more dramatic.
The island knows how to make it as dramatic as humanly possible. It's great. But yeah, so like I said, it's right at the moment, and that's where the episode cuts to black. Like I said, perfect cliffhanger ending right there. But there's one other subplot that we forgot about, which is again the kind of the aftermath of Echo's death from last episode with Locke, Desmond, Saeed, and once again Nikki and Paolo. They're still there, and pretty much all that amounts to is basically like Saeed is like, okay, so what killed Echo? And Locke is basically like trying to give his idea of like what he thinks the smoke monster is. It's like, he's like, and he of course gives one of his things. Oh, the beach residents have seen too much death recently, so I'm going to go to the beach, get some shovels, get back. We're going to bury Echo right here. And then Saeed's like, okay, what aren't you telling me? He's like, we are going to the beach, just taking a little detour. And I think that's the last we see of them. Like, we don't see like actually where they're going. So that's just another setup for presumably what's going to happen in the next episode or two. So, like I said, whatever Locke and Saeed's plan is to free everybody else from the others, it still has yet to come to fruition. So that was an interesting little tip. What do you think Locke is going on in Locke's head right now?
Well, he saw that piece of scripture on Echo's staff. It says something.
Right. Look north.
Something. Look north. So I thought, okay, he's gonna go and see the other island or something. But then we never got a conclusion to that in this episode.
Right.
I'm sure we'll get that in the next episode. But then, of course, the episode ends with Jack yelling at Kate to go run.
Yep.
Where is she gonna run? That's my question now.
Yeah,
because Sawyer told her there's nowhere to run to.
Right, but Jack doesn't know that they're on another
Jack
island.
doesn't know. No,
right.
Exactly. So just so many dynamics flying all over the place.
So many different threads. Yeah, a lot.
I'm not surprised that Lindelof wrote this one.
Yeah,
He's like,
right.
okay, I'm gonna write this one.
Yeah, you can tell they're like, oh, this is a Lindelof written episode. Yeah, and like I said, I'm pretty sure. I mean, I got to check it, but I'm pretty sure this was when this episode originally aired. This was the last episode that aired before they did their mid-season break, and then they didn't come back until the spring. And so
mid-season break, 6 episodes in. Oh,
a cliffhanger like this, and then it's like, wait for the next. Absolutely insane. But yeah, like I said, so it ends right there. It ends on a big old giant cliffhanger, and we will have to see what happens next week in order to see what the payoff happens. So next week is Not in Portland, I believe, which is our Juliet flashback episode, and then the week after that is Flashes Before Your Eyes, which is our next Desmond flashback. So it'll be an interesting 2 episodes. I don't remember a thing of what happens. Like I said, this stretch of the show is the one that Locke finds the other's compound. That's when things really start to get interesting. But this stretch of the show, I do know, however, the episode that ends this month, which will be episode 9, Stranger in a Strange Land, which is infamously another Jack flashback and probably the most controversial Jack flashback and the most controversial episode of Lost. But I'll be interested to get to that point. But real quick, so I just wanted to give a brief tidbit. If you guys have been following my channel up until this point, you guys know that I'm currently at Toronto International Film Festival. I've seen 7 films so far. I have seen The Secret Agent. I have seen Sentimental Value. Again, I have seen, shit, I'm already forgetting them. I just saw Good Fortune, and I saw Sacrifice today. I saw No Other Choice, Park Chan-wook's new movie, and I saw, what were the two that I saw yesterday? I saw from David Mackenzie, and I saw and I saw Christy, the Christy Martin boxing movie with Sydney Sweeney. So basically, the way that I would rank them so far in terms of best to worst, No Other Choice and Sentimental Value, easily the top 2, and both those 2 have cleared it and are in my top 10 of the year. Then I'm gonna go Fuse. Fuse is really good. Fuse is tight, 90-minute action thriller. Aaron Taylor Johnson is an army guy who's called in to defuse a bomb, and on the other side of town, it's revealed that Theo James and Sam Worthington are part of a crew that is executing a crack heist in the middle of it. So it's one of those things where it's like 2 different sources of major tension going down. Action is great. The espionage is great. The twists are twisty. So that one's real nice, which is a movie from a director named Romain Gavras. It stars Chris Evans, Anya Taylor-Joy, Vincent Cassel, Salma Hayek. Charlie XCX is a brief part in this, as well as John Malkovich. And basically what this devolves around is it's basically, the basic way that I can break it down is that it's Die Hard meets The Menu, essentially, before it kind of transitioned into Apocalypse Now, where Chris is an insecure actor who is invited to this billionaire's isolated mountain like mine in Greece that kind of looks like the setting of The Brutalist almost. And then at the same time, you have this group of young eco-terrorists led by Anya Taylor-Joy who infiltrate this gathering, kidnap Chris Evans and Vincent Cassel, who's the leader of them, along with one other, because they're planning on sacrificing them into a volcano in order to quote save the world. It's absolutely bonkers, this movie, and it is hysterical in years. And that one's really, really good. The Christy Martin movie with Sydney Sweeney and Ben Foster, it's her best work yet, easily as an actor. But people are going to be comparing this to I, Tonya, I think a little bit unfavorably so. And the problem is that the movie forgoes the boxing aspect in order to really focus on the domestic violence aspect. And for anybody who's seen the 2010 documentary that this movie borrowed heavily from, it pretty much tells you a bunch of stuff that the documentary has already told. People's reaction to this. I know that they're really trying hard to get Sydney Sweeney an Oscar nomination. She does transform physically for this part, but I don't see how far this movie is going to go. Ben Foster is, of course, terrific in it as her absolutely scumbag of a husband, Jim Martin, as well. And then you have Good Fortune, which is the Aziz Ansari directed movie with Seth Rogen and Keanu Reeves, where Keanu Reeves plays an angel who basically attempting to, go above this guy just barely making it by in LA. And he basically caused him to switch lives with a tech billionaire played by Seth Rogen. And it's basically kind of like the journey that they go on. It's basically like a modern interpretation of It's a Wonderful Life. And then you have, oh my God, Park Chan-wook's No Other Choice. Have you seen any Park Chan-wook movies? Have you seen Old Boy, Sympathy for Mr. Vengeance, anything like that?
I have not. It's a great sin of mine, but I'm sure I'll correct that at some point.
Well, Park Chan-wook is known for making some of the most disturbing and most insane genre picks that have come out of South Korea. Basically, the way that I see it is that he's the Bong Joon-ho before Bong Joon-ho was really a thing. And this is his 11th or 10th feature film. I can't remember, but it is basically a satire / slapstick comedy that stars Byung-hun Lee, who you would know as Storm Shadow from the G.I. Joe movies, as a guy who works for a paper-making company that is fired from his job after 25 years. And because he is unable to get another job, he ends up basically deciding to kill off all of his competition, quite literally. So it's a movie that doubles as both a slapstick comedy and a very, very harsh critique and satire of kind of capitalist systems, and specifically how evolving tech is outmoded, I guess the need and use for human labor. And so that's really interesting. And then Sentimental Value, which I haven't gotten a chance to talk about in the podcast yet. I saw a early test screening for it back in June, and now I've officially seen it again at the festival. It is from the director of The Worst Person in the World, a Norwegian film. The director's name is Joachim Trier. It stars, once again, the star of The Worst Person in the World, Renate Reinsve, alongside Stellan Skarsgård, Elle Fanning, and Inga Ibsdottir Liljas. Basically, they are Basically, they are a family who has become estranged, and the father is a director. They are a divorced couple, and essentially what you have is it basically is all tied around the fact comes back in their lives after their mother has passed, and he is a famous film star to star in his most recent newest film that he's planning on doing. And it basically ties into all kind of the generational guilt that has been going on, and how basically there's been multiple generations that have lived in their house. And it's really interesting. I didn't quite love it the first time I saw it, but the second time I saw it, I'm like, oh, this is good. This is really, really, really good. Seen so far at Toronto International Film Festival. There will be more to come if you guys want to check it out. My instant reactions, just check those out on my YouTube channel as well. Like I said, I've got 2 more coming up, and I still got a bunch of other movies that I still have to see. I still plan on seeing. I'm seeing Hamnet tomorrow. I'm planning on seeing Eternity, which is this rom-com starring Elizabeth Olsen and Miles Teller and Callum Turner. I'm planning on seeing Wake Up Dead Man. I'm planning on seeing Ballad of a Small Player with Colin Farrell. And I believe that that's it for movies that I'm seeing in Toronto. But still, it's been quite a journey so far at this film festival.
Yeah, I rewatched Ocean's 11. I can still report that it's awesome. So that's what I watched. And of course, I think we're both going to watch The Long Walk this week.
Yes.
So
yes,
we'll be talking about that this upcoming week. So
yes.
along with Lost. So
yes, indeed we will. So with that being said, guys, that was it. That was my kind of mid-film festival check-in and our recap of Lost. Like I said, be sure to tune into next week's episode in order to in order to see what we have going on next. And in the meantime, Luke, where can people follow you on the interwebs?
They can follow me at Luke Reviews on YouTube. I'm going to try and commit. I'm doing this thing where I'm trying to commit to a video a month. I can't promise September, but I will do a video on The Thing in October, because The Thing is awesome and I want to talk about it.
Perfect. Awesome. And you guys can follow me with everything going on at Movie Nerd Reviews across all platforms, at Official Talking TV Podcast across all platforms. And from myself, from Luke, and from Toronto International Film Festival, be sure to keep watching more fucking movies and get lost. We'll see you guys next time.